Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with another rewind edition of my podcast, and today I will be rewinding Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style album. Now, this is the solo debut album from Snoop Dogg, one of the best hip hop artists of our time, one of the best, one of the most known faces, most household names that we have of our time as well. This is considered the best debut album for a hip hop artist, and definitely one of the best albums to ever release in hip hop. So you have to put it up there, Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style up there with Nas's Illmatic, Jay Z's Reasonable Doubt, Biggie's Ready to Die album, um, 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Trying. It's up with all of those classic albums. Um, and you have to put it in there because of the simple artistry of this album and just the viciousness that Snoop Dogg rapped with back then. He was one of the premier dogs in the game, especially putting on for the West Coast, which was starting to make a name for itself around this time. Um, Stellar Project, uh, the original project was concise and it was short. It was 13 tracks, and that's the one I'm gonna discuss today, selling over 800,000 copies in the first week, which this album released back in 1993, 1993, 1994. But he was introduced to the world in 1992, of course, appearing on Dr. Dre's The Chronic album. People were clamoring for a Snoop Dogg solo project because of his straight rapping ability. He had a unique sound. He was very smooth, very mellow, very even keeled. Um, and he definitely gave us great music way before he dropped the solo project. So this was around, and I always talk about the storylines. This was around the time that Snoop Dogg was going through a legal issue where there was he was charged for murder and he beat the murder charge. But he delivered under the pressure and under the eye of the legal system, and he was able to still deliver a great project. And for him to deliver this project under these conditions just showed the ability that he had as a rapper, or has as a rapper. He still can rap today, releasing that album that he just released. But this album was definitely classic. A lot of people say it's their favorite album of all time in hip hop, but I wouldn't go there because, I'm still more of a Nas guy. So Illmatic is still, and It Was Written still is my type of bag. But I understand why people say that because the album was solely produced by Dr. Dre. Now, having the Dr. Dre produce on your album is going to make your album great, especially, if you got the lyrics to go with it and the style and the grace that Snoop Dogg has. And Snoop has that rapping ability that really won't be mimicked because the cadence that he raps in and with the smoothness that he raps as almost as if he's talking. He probably raps smoother than he actually talks, which is kind of crazy. But he has that unique ability, and it feels like he's been rapping all his life, which he pretty much has been rapping since his probably teens all the way now into his 50s. He's been rapping more than he's been, actually not rapping. So um, he definitely has that ability. But Dr. Dre produced tracks, and it had a very West Coast sound for the most part on this album. Very great hits. And Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre might be the best rap producer duo in hip hop history. You have the Eric B and Rakims, and you have the Futures and Metros, and you have 50 Cent and Dr. Dre, or you have 50 Cent and Dr. Dre and Eminem. You have all these different combinations, but this is definitely one of the OG collaborations that are, hip hop. When you think about rappers and producers, um, you have to go back to them and put them up there with the greats. I had a podcast about this earlier on my podcast in my earlier time doing this, but yeah, they definitely, you have to put them in there. But the songs on this album, of course, Gin and Juice, which was a single, amazing track, and Who I Am, What's My Name, classic Snoop Dogg songs that if you're making a greatest hit, you have to put those songs on there. But it's, as I always say, it's about the other songs that make your album, the B-sides that really make this album. Pump Pump was my favorite B-side on this album. He switched up his flow a little bit. It was very, man, it was the cadence that he was rapping in. Of course, the production was top notch because it's Dr. Dre. You don't have to say much about that. But this song was played on the Above the Rim movie, but it wasn't on the soundtrack, but they played it on the movie. And that was the movie with Dwayne Martin and Tupac, one of the best basketball movies of all time, in my opinion. Um, and then of course, Murder Was the Case, when he kind of explains his situation with the murder trial that he was going through at the time. And it's crazy that he went from that situation to being one of the biggest household names. Now everybody from every genre knows Snoop Dogg. He's the most marketable, superstar that we have in hip hop as far as endorsement wise, because he's on every commercial. He's in every event. He's covering baseball. I mean, he's covering boxing. He's covering wrestling. He's on football. He's on so many different things that he's just the most marketable star. So he was able to turn his career around from a tragedy and to becoming a household name and the biggest celebrity that we've seen in hip hop. Even to an Eminem, because Eminem is very introverted and reclusive. He doesn't get out as much, but Snoop Dogg is the total opposite. Even with his involvement in the Olympics, this past Olympics last summer. Um, but this is that Murder Is the Case song was showing his ability to story tell and be descriptive, very strong writing, very strong work from Snoop Dogg. And then Lottie Dottie is another song that I like because of the production, and especially the rapping, and then the singing from the singer Nancy Fletcher at the time. Very great song. Serial Killer probably had the best production on it. Now, if you go back and listen to that track, excellent flows, especially it had Lady of Rage on it as well, which we don't talk enough about Lady of Rage. I definitely have to do a segment on Lady of Rage and what she meant to rap. Because a lot of people know her from the Steve Harvey show, but she was more than that. She was a great rapper. They know her from the Steve Harvey show, and the next Friday movie is Baby D. But she is a great rapper as well. So we definitely have to talk about that. But she comes from that Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg mold. I believe she was signed under Snoop Dogg at the time. So, but Snoop Dogg doesn't get enough credit for his ability to have skits as well. The W Ball skits on this album and other albums, he has a lot of great skits. And he was one of the first to do the great skits and kind of accentuate those, which is a lost art in this game right now. There's not a lot of skits going around. It's just music, and you might get an intro or outro here. The outro is not even used as much. So I remember the Lil Wayne, the Carter 2 album. He had intros, interludes, skits. He had it all. But that's a lost art in this game. But definitely check out the Snoop Dogg Doggy Style album if you haven't heard it. Great music, classic music that defined an era for hip hop and gave hip hop a great start into what was set to come. So it was a very foreshadowing album as well. So as always, until next time, I catch you next time.